All right, everyone. Welcome back to A Playmaker's View. I'm your host, Jamie Burdish. I hope you're doing well out there. Tyler, you're our guest on this show, and I want to, before we get started, thank you so much. I know you're a super busy guy with everything going on. But to everyone listening, this is Tyler White. Tyler, can you give the viewers an introduction of yourself before we get into the World Pitching Congress, kind of your background, how you got involved in sports, and your passion, why you do the things that you do right now?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate you allowing me to come on here and blabber and talk and whatnot. So quick background. By trade, I'm a chiropractor. That's my degree. So I have a doctorate in chiropractic. If you compared, a physical therapy degree and chiropractic degree, or going in as a sports med doc, like an MD, this allowed me to do everything I wanted to do to work with athletes, and in particular baseball athletes, and even more niche to that, throwers, pitchers. So it all started, I played baseball in high school and in college. Um, Back then, I thought, this is what I was going to do the rest of my life. I was halfway decent. I had, scouts and universities talking to me about potentially coming to play. And then my senior season, I had all these high hopes and aspirations, and then all of a sudden, a pretty nasty non-contact injury on my foot that I had no idea was coming just basically knocked me out to the point where I couldn't hit, couldn't throw, couldn't do anything. Didn't really tell anyone. I mean, I told the coach, and everyone knew like he clearly wasn't right. But like as far as like scouts go, no one knew. So everyone just thought this guy was garbage. Ended up walking on at Kaskaskia University. Was potentially going to be starting out as a freshman there. Was back to healthy again, was throwing well, was hitting well, everything was starting to click again. And then woke up one morning, couldn't lift my arm. And they had told me that it was more than likely a labral tear. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't do anything. I just woke up with it. And at that point, I was shelved for another 4 or 5, 6 months of just trying to rehab and get strong and to just get, better again. And it was incredibly frustrating, to the point where I was like, well, I spend my whole life working towards this one thing, and I had no idea, why this happened. So from there, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of rehabbing. I'm going to hang up the cleats, and I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to figuring out why this happened to me, and then work with other athletes to make sure that doesn't happen to them. And then from there, it was, in undergrad, I went to SIUE. I studied pre-med and just really dug deep into biomechanics and sports medicine. From there, I went to Logan University in Chesterfield, Missouri for chiro school. Pass whatever courses that they make you pass to get your degree. But most of my time was spent researching throwing, researching biomechanics, going through PubMed research, finding, most common injuries, why they're happening, and really getting, the nitty gritty and the deep down dirty details of why this stuff happens. And then from there, I've just started working with throwing athletes. And that was kind of where the passion all started, was, having those injuries, knowing like I didn't do anything to start it, what's going on, and then just having that desire every day to get a little bit better in understanding, biomechanics and movement and throwing and performance, and just understanding kind of the sports medicine side of things, and then trying to implement that with athletes. So in a roundabout way, it was, I played baseball, got hurt, had the desire to figure out why I got hurt, and then it basically just, nose to the ground, just grinding it out, trying to learn as much as I can to get other people better and have that not happen to them.
Yeah, wow, that's really interesting. I think that one takeaway from that is, uh, obviously things happen for a reason. It's interesting to think about if you didn't get hurt, where you would be right now. But to you, are you thankful that kind of? I mean, obviously you wanted to continue to play, but the injury has led you to so many different things in your life. So, how do you think things would be different if you didn't get hurt? You think you would still be playing, or um, I don't know if that's something you like to think about, but that's an interesting perspective. I think it's awesome that you got that opportunity and that you made the most of it as well, because a lot of people would have just quit. So talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because that's something I talk about with my friends, my colleagues, my family a lot. Was I was very bitter for the first like 5 years going through, because like school is a grind, especially when you're trying to go kind of in that path. It's like you have full days of just sitting in a chair, researching, reading, doing, labs and tests. And it's just like, I had, at the same time, I had several friends that were drafted playing minor league baseball, like living their dream out, trying to achieve, the ultimate goal of making it to professionals. And I was bitter. I was like, this is terrible. This is, at the time, I know what I had to do. I knew I had to just keep kind of, working a little bit better each day to get there, and eventually it would happen. But at that time, it's like you see all of your friends and colleagues doing what you thought you were going to do, and it was very tough. It was hard to, I'm happy that they got that success, and but looking back, I can maybe think of one of maybe 20 people that I was relatively close with that actually made it to the big leagues. So 1 out of 20, and that's wild to think that way. The other thing is, like, if you look at the percentages of people that make it first round picks, there are 30, depending on supplemental rounds, potentially more first round picks. They're all going to make over $1 million. They're going to make a good signing bonus, but only 10%, 10 to 15% of first rounders make it to the bigs. I would have been a very late bloomer. So for me to work up, I'm not saying it's impossible, because you see these guys all the time in the 20, 30, even, I don't know what round they stop at now, but like when I was getting like at that potential draft age, they still had like 50 rounds. You see a few sneak out from those high rounds, but not many. There's a lot of people that get that opportunity. And it's to do that, you have to have a lot of luck. You got to stay healthy, and you just got to keep grinding. And like, even though I might have had the passion to do it, I clearly didn't have the health to do it. So that was where it's like, looking back, I am so thankful that I got hurt when I did, and I dedicated the rest of the time to get there. Cause now I'm 31, turned 32 this week. I feel like I'm pretty far into my career, like advanced wise. I've done quite a bit in the short amount of time, because I've dedicated my time to get there. And like, if I would have been off playing baseball, I would have been starting at 29 instead of starting at 18. So it's like, that gave me a decade to get ahead of it a little bit. So looking back, the odds of me making it were pretty low. And this basically gave me the opportunity to promote myself, not promote myself, but like to just continue to grow my career in the direction I wanted it to be in. And even after I got hurt, I told my now wife, then girlfriend at the time, and my family, it was like, I knew that I was going to work in baseball to some capacity. Like, my passion was there, my desire is there, my knowledge is there. So I knew whatever vehicle I took it in terms of like my profession or my career, I was going to still work in baseball. So I eventually was going to get right back to where I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's move on. Let's talk about where you are now. Obviously, it's been a long road. Like you said, you had an opportunity to start at a young age, to start researching, and to start getting good at your craft. So let's talk about the World Pitching Congress. First off, what is it, and how is it started? I know you're a co-founder of it, but how did that get started, and where is it now?
Yeah, so I would say after the first year of kind of taking full reins of the event, just in terms of planning and running and just doing all the logistics, and it's a lot of work. It's insane how much goes into this stuff. But it all started, honestly. So it originally started probably early 2019 between my former business partner Brett Winchester and I, just talking about wanting to build something like this. And truly, it started in November of 2017. Him and I were both speaking with members of the Diamondbacks sports medicine and performance staff in Peoria, Arizona, to the Padres and some of the Mariners and a few other teams there. They share a spring training facility down there. So it was a movement, sports medicine, baseball throwing, like, how to treat, how to train, how to assess, looking at tech. Like, it was only 5 or 6 speakers, but it was really cool to see all that come together. So at that time, we're like, we need to build something bigger where we have more speakers, more disciplines, and basically get everything that we would like people to learn, so that we can kind of, teach each group from strength and conditioning, sports medicine, performance, pitching, whatever, to be able to work together, speak the same language, and then each grow to help improve pitching performance in sports, or in their injury history, and their just injury reduction, or just health in general. So that's kind of where it started, and that's kind of the genesis of where it popped out of.
Right. So I know that you have a lot of guests come to, well, obviously now it's going to be virtual. We'll get into that. But what kind of guests do you have? Why do you choose the guests that you do? And how does that process work for you? I mean, word of mouth, people knowing other people, your network. But how have you been fortunate enough to have the guests that you have? Um, and like, why do you? Main question is, why do you choose those people? What is your main goal that people can take out of the Congress? What do you want this speaker to talk about that the people can take away from?
So the biggest goal out of that in terms of like who talks is I want to find the experts. I want to find who's the best at monitoring workload. Who's the best at building athletes in terms of like strength training. Are you working with throwers, working with in a fascially minded context, in a velocity based minded context? There's so many um, different subgroups to each like discipline, whether that's sports medicine, strength training, performance based, whatever, movement based. There's so many little disciplines or subgroups to those disciplines that I want to find the experts in each one of them, right? So we might have the expert from this side of the country or with this team or whoever that they work with some of the top athletes in the world, right? The ones we see on TV that are World Series champs, MVP, Cy Youngs, all the top people, right? So the idea is I want to find the experts. The next is like, how do we get to meet the experts? There's a lot of different avenues to get there. Biggest is the network effect, right? Like you got to go out, you got to meet people. Twitter was actually a really good thing for me early on. Was like introducing myself to people, connecting with people, starting a dialogue, a conversation, and then getting to know people through there. I go and speak at other events. When you speak at other events, it's a situation where you get to meet the presenters at those events, and you get comfortable with them, and you get friendly, and then to the point where you have that connection in your network. And the beauty of it is, each one of these people then knows other people, so that you can grow from there. And just always remember, you don't want to try to get something out of someone. You want to try to give something to someone, right? Each individual that you meet should be like, how can what do I have in my resource bucket that I can give to them to make their lives better or to get them to where they want to be? Even if you get nothing out of it, you do that enough times, legitimately, it comes back around you where people want to help you out, or they're just they're friendlier. They want to become friends with you. They want to know more about you. They want to help you in some capacity when you help them. And it's never a situation where you need to be like, oh, I got to get this out of this guy. It's like, this person's really smart. I would love to chat with them. I would love to kind of, you never want to say pick their brain, but you always want to kind of like in a roundabout way, learn what they know, and just do whatever you can to improve their lives. And then that will come back around. So, we want to find the experts in terms of who we have. And then we also want to make sure that we have a very diverse collection of individuals. So it's not just strength or whatever. Like we have biomechanists, we have sports psychologists, we have chiropractors, physical therapists, orthopedists, strength coaches, so many different disciplines. We have pitching coaches. We want to be able to get each person's perspective and context into how we're going to train or work with pitchers or just athletes in general.
Gotcha. So I want to ask you a little bit about how this year's layout's going to be. I know it's frustrating that it's going to have to be virtually, and I don't know about. I think last year was a little bit too as well. So this is an event on January 15th, and so it'll be a few days before or after we aired this episode. How can people first off sign up if there are still spots available? What can they expect from the event? The different speakers, who's going to be there? And the different things that they're going to be teaching. It's going to be virtually, but how can people access this? Cost, all that good stuff, all the information. Can you share that with us?
Yeah. So, like you said, it has to be virtual again. Unfortunately, we just had to make that decision this last week. When we started putting all this back together for this year, this was in the summer when we weren't wearing masks again and everything was starting to kind of calm down. And we thought, well, maybe we can finally meet in person. I had already gone and I spoke at an event where there were no masks and everyone was around and everything was normal-ish. And I was like, well, I think we can maybe pull this off this year. And then fast forward to right now, the end of December, beginning of January, COVID's at an all-time high. Couldn't have predicted that. And flights are hard to get and things are madness. So we unfortunately had to go full virtual again. Last year was, in the midst of the pandemic. So we were virtual obviously then, but essentially the whole thing this year is it's going to be a cleaner production. It's going to be it's going to be easier to access, easier to understand, and it's going to be a lot more appealing visually and like auditorially. So how to sign up, basically you'll go to www.worldpitchingcongress.com, and from there you can purchase your ticket. It'll be January 15th and 16th. Like I said, the event's fully virtual. One thing I am giving to everyone, since we had to kind of make this decision last minute, and it's been a huge fiasco to deal with all the production and the logistics and trying to cancel stuff and refund people that were going to be there in person. But I wanted to kind of give back a little bit in the sense of like making it easier for people. So from here until whenever the Congress starts is we're giving 20% off for admission, or just for a ticket. Just use the code virtual, VIRTUAL, during your checkout, and you get 20% off that ticket. But yeah, so the biggest thing to learn from that is like I want anyone that's interested in working with throwers, right? It doesn't have to be sports medicine. You don't have to be a strength coach. You could be a pitching coach. You could be a head coach. You could be an assistant. You could be an athletic training student. You could be a PT student. Anyone that wants to work in some capacity with a thrower, in my opinion, if you're just a pitching coach and don't have any sports medicine background, you at least need to know the conversation had on the other side of things, from the strength coach to the AT, the head trainer, the PT. Everyone kind of needs to understand what the whole context of the dialogue is, because to get an athlete better, we all need to be on the same page. So that's why, like, I want everyone that works with pitchers to be hungry to want to learn this information. We have some of the top people that work with throwers from many different avenues going to be there speaking. So here, you learn from biomechanists, you learn from strength coaches, you learn from, I have someone that is one of the best in the world in training quarterbacks. I have someone that's one of the best in the world at training cricket ball bowlers. I don't even know the proper term there. I want you to learn kind of from each one of these perspectives so that you can take this back to your team. You can take this back to your trainer. You can take this back to your pitching coach, whatever, and be like, hey, this is the way that they're doing this over with the Dodgers or with the Royals or with the Diamondbacks or whoever. And this is the process that they're using. And I think that we can implement this and make our team or make this athlete significantly better because of it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. One thing, I always talk with my uncle about this, and he usually goes to my practices, and when I'm training and stuff, he's like, "Oh, you're so lucky to have all this technology." And now that I'm like out of the game, I'm realizing how much that I could use this, and it's awesome that you guys have the opportunity. I mean, if you think about 30 years down the road, if you had to cancel something like this, you probably couldn't have used a virtual setting. So it's awesome that you can do that, and I think it's really cool what you guys are doing, and it's going to be very beneficial for a lot of people. I also noticed you guys have what's called a resume drop. Can you explain that to people and how they can introduce, get involved in that, what that is, and how beneficial that can be for someone?
Yeah, so this is a cool idea. I did not come up with this on my own. I actually got the idea. I spoke at an event in Boston 2-3 years ago called the Saber Seminar, where it's all about like sabermetrics in baseball, and it's mostly analytic people. But I got in there kind of on the sports medicine side and spoke on like breathing and movement and stuff. But what they did there was for all the students or people that just kind of work in software development or data analytics or stats or whatever, they did a resume drop. And basically, if you wanted to work in baseball, they compiled all these resumes and they sent them out to all the teams that were involved in the seminar. And there was a huge chunk of people getting jobs in Major League Baseball from the seminar. I was like, that is smart. I love that idea. So basically, this is the first year we're going to be doing it. I've already contacted a ton of teams, directors of strength, head trainers, and there's a lot of people interested in hearing from this, because you got to think the group of people that are interested in learning this information are also hungry to learn more as they go. And teams want the individuals that are like willing to go learn and to grow and to try to get better every day. and never stay like static and closed-minded. They want people open-minded and that are wanting to learn more and grow. So that at least puts them in the thought process of like, we know these could be really unique individuals, so we're going to look at this a little bit more clearly, more seriously.
Hmm.
So that's a cool thing to do. The other thing is, if you want to work in baseball, you might not know where to reach out to or who to reach out to or how to get that. I wanted to allow this to be an easier process. So if you're a trainer, if you're a PT, if you're a stats person, if you're a biomechanics, biomechanist, if you're a pitching coach and you want to work in professional baseball, I want to give you the opportunity to make that easier.
Yeah, that's awesome opportunity. I hope people actually take that opportunity and use it, because that's going to be awesome. The last question I have for you, I want to end with this. Um, Obviously, you guys have had some success in the past. And shout out to you for all the stuff that you've done so far. One, what makes this event special to you? And two, what is your end goal, not just this year, but in the future?
So one thing that makes this special is I basically built what I wanted, right? If I was coming up, I thought, well, I want to become the best in the world at working with throwers. How do I get there? Like, do I have to just read random books? Do I have to ask a bunch of people? Do I have to try to meet a bunch of people? Do I have to pick all their brains constantly and put all this time and effort into building that process? Or was there an event I could go to learn all of the ins and outs of movement, from strength, from the sports med side to the pitching analytics side to the pitching strategy side? I wanted to put that together. Like, I wanted that, have access to that, and to be able to attend that. So basically, I just started working on it myself, right? And then I had Brett. Obviously, Brett worked with the Cardinals at the time, so he had a ton of great contacts that we could start kind of getting the process going. And it was just one of those deals where it all kind of came together, and we put together something where people could learn from the head trainer of the Cubs, and the head trainer of the Diamondbacks, and the director of strength for the Dodgers, and head orthopedist for the Cardinals. Like, you could hear what they do that makes them so unique, so that you could learn from them. You're basically just learning what it took them their entire lives to do. So it's a super unique thing. My end goal, like, I don't make any money off this. Like, it is, for the time put in, it is abysmal. It's all about trying to grow the game, trying to, because like, if you look at it, I want to reduce injury as much as we can in the thrower. Throwing elbow and shoulder injuries are still just as high as ever. Velocity is only going up, so we're creating more risk and stress for a breakdown. Throwing is a non-contact sport event. We see so many of these injuries from just doing the motion. So there's something we need to continue to learn and grow as a collective, as an industry, to make that better. The only way to do that from the ground up is if we started a process where people could come and learn from some of the top people. And then at the very lowest levels, you start in little league, and then grade school, high school, college, and then professionals. If we can start those lowest levels and work up, we're going to make a big impact on that final number as we see all these injuries. But until then, it's just going to keep happening. So that end goal is I want to make some type of impact in the game to reduce that injury load.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think that you're headed in the right direction, because I've seen it, like you said, more and more with people throwing harder, there's more injuries. And now that we have the technology, I think this is the perfect time to utilize that, and to make sure that all the athletes are on the right path to be successful. And maybe even you talked about this earlier, the 1 in 20 people have that opportunity to go to the MLB. Maybe that'll increase with this knowledge. You never know. But I think that's going to do it for us. I really appreciate you giving us the time, and it was an honor talking to you, because this is an awesome event that you have going on, and hopefully at least one person listening to this will join and get some knowledge, maybe even use the resume drop and become somewhat a part of an organization in baseball. But if you have any other final thoughts, let us know. If there's anything else you want to note about the event specifically, any other details, please let us know. But thank you so much, Tyler. It was an honor.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate the conversation, and just give me the opportunity to chat about this.
We'll definitely connect again soon. Hopefully, I want to hear about how the event went and all the great things. Hopefully, there will be someone who went through the event that can tell us a little bit about it and spread it some more. But thank you, Tyler, and thank you to all the viewers who tuned in. We'll be back very soon with another episode.